What's up guys, and welcome to another video covering Pokemon Legends Arceus. And you might ask, why are we sort of diving into this game first rather than thinking a little bit more about Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl? And that's because technically this is information that we knew about the games before the games were actually announced. So if you were not aware, maybe 2 or 3 hours, maybe a little bit earlier, before the actual Pokemon Presents aired, there was a leak, and that leak contained information of XYZ, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, developed by Elka Inc., etc, etc, all of that jazz, and then obviously Pokemon Legends Arceus, developed by Game Freak. And as well as that, it included first a small short video, and that footage was sort of comprised of what we see in the trailer anyway, so it's just shots like, the player characters running around, so nothing we haven't seen in the official reveal. However, it did also include these 2 images of basically they're pictures of some sort of slideshow. This is probably an internal slideshow at Game Freak, or inside the Pokemon Company, or maybe a sort of a prototype of some sort of information sort of drop for the games. Obviously we have not received these sorts of images or anything similar to them in the actual reveal or announcement, so it seems to me like they would be sort of internal to the company. So maybe it's like a reporting on this is how the game's going to play, etc., or maybe some sort of internal feedback presentation. It seems just going over some of the features of the game, and maybe sort of designed for a future public reveal, and it's just in the early stages. And these images are sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Completely lost my mind. The overlay, the little image, the text over the top that tells you. Generally, it's people put like a trademark. It's not a trademark. Copyright. No, it's not copyright either. It's some sort of overlay, so you can sort of claim it as yours. And these are dated actually with 21st of January 2021, so they weren't sort of recent just before the presents. They're sort of like a month or so old. So obviously do bear that in mind. It's a little bit before the presentation anyway. So these things, obviously the game is still fairly early in development, so they may not actually happen at the end of the game. They may be sort of just very prototypey, like throwing around ideas for the most part. But of course we won't know until we get some more information about the games. But we are going to look over these images, so do beware, we're going to have some leaked images showing up in a minute, guys. So if you are not a fan of looking at leaked stuff, or stuff that's not been officially revealed by the Pokemon Company and so forth, probably click off the video. But if you do want to sort of delve in and see what we can glean from them, please by all means go ahead and let's do that. So the first image we're going to look at here has 2 sections to it. The top section is describing basically player actions in the world, and then the second section is describing more how you can work with your Pokemon. We're going to dive into each one more in depth, but the top one is probably the least interesting one. It's just the sort of stuff we saw in the trailer. It's you can do a dodge roll, you can sneak around in the grass, and then you can throw a Pokeball at some Pokemon. And it's basically, as you can see here, it's probably a Shinx that they're throwing the Pokeball at, so it's going to be very similar to actually what we saw in the trailer itself. However, there is one thing to pick up from in this particular set of images, and that's the tree. Is the most interesting thing here. So as you can see, we've got this tree in the background, and it's an interesting tree. For one, it's green at the top and then orange down below on the leaves. And it looks very similar to, if I pull up a picture of one of the trees from Sword and Shield, you can see just how similar it is in terms of its size, I would guess. And obviously we can see some more trees in the background of that shot there, and you can see they are pine trees, and thus vastly different from this tree that's closer to the player. And this indicates that it's like it's an interactive tree. We saw a similar thing when Sword and Shield was sort of being announced and so on. There were standard trees in the environment, but then there were these special trees which eventually obviously turned out to be berry trees, and you can collect berries from. So while the design is slightly different in these games, it would seem you've got an orange lower half and a green upper half. I couldn't tell you why that is. Maybe they just fancied a different design, who knows. So what could this tree be for? Well, it may follow a very similar purpose as it did in Sword and Shield, where you'd be able to shake these trees and collect some berries from them. And we assume berries will return in these games, especially because it's set in the past. Pokemots likely won't be a thing, or at least not as much of a thing, so we may see some level of a survival type sort of interactivity. And I'm not talking something like, oh yeah, you've got a hunger meter and you've got to cook food and drink water and so on. I don't think it's going to be quite that far, but there could be some level more of you've got to forage and scavenge for items rather than just being able to roll up to the local Pokemon and say, yep, I would very much like to buy 100 of your berries, and so on. Obviously berries have generally been farmed more than sold, but the same sort of principle applies. So we may see them being used for berries here. Another option, as we have previously discussed in the first Arceus video I did, is apricorns, and of course these trees eventually did get used for apricorns in the Isle of Armor DLC, where some trees gave you berries and some gave you apricorns and some gave you both. So they may extend it in that way as well and say, yep, you know, some of these trees can also give you apricorns, and those possibly then go on to be used to make Pokeballs, because as we've already discussed, the Pokeballs in these games will be very different from the normal ones. They won't be digital, I suppose. They will be a little bit more, I don't know, old-fashioned, maybe the term, made out of wood and blowing off some steam. So as well as maybe just having apricorns from these trees, maybe you'll have to collect some sort of material to make some Pokeballs as well, because as mentioned, Pokemon may not really be as widespread. You know, it's only going to be one village possibly in the region for a start, so you may only have one Pokemon, and maybe money will be handled slightly differently in these games and that sort of thing. So I wouldn't assume it will be similar to the mainline games or the modern games, I guess you could say, modern in terms of setting rather than in terms of real life age. They may not be as, you know, buy and sell stuff. It may be much more down to scavenging and foraging and so on. So maybe to get more Pokeballs, you've got to go out and maybe, you know, collect some wood from some trees, and, you know, like building, I suppose, back into the survival aspect there. So maybe that will be a factor of it. You know, maybe these trees, as well as giving you some berries, will also give you some sort of wood or twigs or something that can be used to then, you know, not necessarily make into Pokeballs yourselves, but maybe you have to take them to a village somewhere and there's a craftsman who will then give you the Pokeballs for, you know, in exchange for the wood. That's another possibility there. So nothing to bear in mind, but it will be interesting to see. You know, they're at least going to give you berries, I would imagine, but whether apricorns also pop up in some way and allow you to create, you know, again, similarly to the normal games, you know, some slightly different Pokeballs as well. So maybe blue apricorns, maybe they don't make a moon ball, but maybe they make, I don't know, I mean, we may just have equivalent one-to-ones, and we'll talk in a future video about Pokemon Home compatibility, and, you know, just generally, can you transfer the Pokemon from Legends into other games, and if so, how are these new Pokeballs gonna work? You know, are we just gonna have this old-fashioned Pokeball be transformed into a standard Pokeball, in which case you sort of have to have a one-to-one with everything? So if there is an Ultra Ball equivalent in Legends, then it's just gonna have to be sort of hard converted into an Ultra Ball when you transfer into Home. And that may mean sort of, you know, some things like, yeah, it's got to be a one-to-one. You know, we can't have it's got to be a moon ball as opposed to I don't know, just a blue ball, if you understand what I mean there. So we'll have to see how that goes, but it's a few possibilities there. So that's the only real interesting thing from those top 3 screenshots. As I say, the rest of it is just, yeah, you can do a dodge roll, yeah, you can sneak in some grass and then throw some Pokeballs. The interesting stuff comes on the 3 bottom images, so let's look at each one in turn. And the first one you can see here is of a shot of presumably the player character sitting on a black silhouette. And basically these 3 shots along the bottom show how you can interact and use Pokemon to help you on your adventure. And this first one seems to be about sort of mounting your Pokemon and riding them, similar to how we have maybe like Arcanine in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee and so on. How they can actually, you know, maybe increase the speed of travel. Because if you think about it, you have doing an open world game, we're going to need some easy way to travel around. You know, comparing it again to Breath of the Wild, you can do your standard running around. You can also paraglide, and also get horses at the end of the day, as well as stuff like shield surfing. So there are ways to speed up navigation. So the Pokemon game here will have to implement something similar, and of course the obvious thing is just allowing you to ride certain Pokemon to make it easy for you to get around quicker. Of course, the most interesting thing here is the fact that this Pokemon doesn't seem to actually match anything that we know, or at least one-to-one. Now you can see here it's some sort of bipedal Pokemon, and it's got antlers. So the Pokemon that I think matches this best at the moment is Stantler. So obviously you can see if do some sort of just general body comparison. Stantler's the same body type as we see here. It's got the same sort of tail. It's got like a round ball-like tail, and you can see the same on the model. The antlers They don't quite fit 100%. I mean, it may just be the angle, because obviously generally we're looking at Stantler from head on, so its antlers are here and here, whereas these antlers on the silhouette model look more to be sort of like direct straight lines with then crosses in them. So that doesn't quite fit directly. But Stantler is probably the best fit we have overall. So either possibilities here are these silhouettes are just complete mock-ups. They are just like, oh yes, there is something here, and rather than just have it be a really sort of jagged, like, you know, outline, put in something that's very generic, and obviously they've taken a bit of liberty there possibly just to give you some sort of form, but they may just be sort of silhouette mock-ups rather than anything intended to be. Of course they could be a Pokemon that they've decided to, you know, blot out and black out for some reason, or they could be a new Pokemon of some sort. They are sort of, you know, blacking out to hide, you know, for the future sort of thing. So, you know, we may know it's a new Pokemon, but we don't know sort of what it is, and it's not, you know, officially been revealed, for example. So if this is a new Pokemon, I could see this being an evolution of Stantler, because, I mean, let's say it's very similar to Stantler at the moment, and possibly Stantler with some sort of fancier antlers and a larger body shape. The one part of the silhouette that Stantler is missing is this sort of like a sort of almost like a bushy sort of neck fur area that hangs off down the front. So an evolution of Stantler would sort of, you know, fit the bill to fill in the spots there. And we must remember, Diamond and Pearl in Generation 4, one of the, not necessarily gimmicks necessarily, but one of the focuses of it was adding a load of evolutions to previous generation Pokemon. It had been done once or twice before, of course, in Generation 2 and 3, but if you think about how many were added in Gen 4, it's quite a lot. You've got what? Electivire, Magmortar, Gliscor, Weavile, Dusknoir, Frostlass, Gallade. There's a, you know, it was a huge stack. Porygon Z. There's just a lot of stuff that was added there. So they may look to emulate a similar thing in Legends, where they are adding new evolutions to, you know, older Pokemon, or new evolutions just to Pokemon in general, and you know, using that as a way to, you know, as a form to promote the game through. And of course the explanation they can use for that is like, you know, these Pokemon used to exist, and then for some reason in the modern day era Stantler is no longer evolving into this form. So this could be something related to time, or of course it doesn't really matter to them too much because they can just wave it away and say, yeah, it doesn't really matter that, you know, Stantler technically can evolve now into this new Pokemon, but, you know, you just didn't know about it before. Yeah, the lore and the sort of the consistency in the Pokemon franchise has never been 100%. Of course, you know, thinking about X and Y, where Mega Evolutions were just being found about, and then suddenly there's a Hone remake where it's set before X and Y, and Mega Evolutions are just commonplace. So, you know, the consistency has never really been there too much, and they can just add new stuff. I did say in my last video that I wouldn't expect them to add new things to Legends, but it's possible in a way that they could be adding new Pokemon and just, you know, waving it away as a, oh yeah, no, we're just going to do it, and it doesn't really matter that it doesn't make too much sense. And of course, in lore, in game, there can be some level of explanation where, you know, certain evolutions or certain Pokemon just don't exist anymore for certain reasons. It's not really something they're going to get too held up on. So that's one possibility here in terms of, you know, figuring out what this silhouette is. If we look at the next image we have here, where rather than just riding on the Pokemon, this seems to be demoing how you can use your Pokemon to help you climb. Because of course, if we're expected to climb Mount Coronet at some point, we're probably going to need to get some help with that, because the mountain's going to be pretty large. So this silhouette is very interesting because, for one, we can't actually see the player character, because, I mean, on the previous image we could see him sitting atop the silhouette, but in this case it is just a silhouette. Now, one thing to note is there seems to be a very block type structure on the back of this silhouette, so possibly your player character just gets shoved into some sort of box and gets carried up that way, like in a basket, which is one possibility, I suppose. And of course, at that point, you're really just controlling the Pokemon itself. When you're riding a Pokemon, and obviously, you know, like in Let's Go Pikachu Eevee, running around on an Arcanine, because you can still see your player character, there is still very much the feeling of, I am not controlling the Pokemon directly, but I am, you know, I'm controlling it. I'm controlling myself, or my character, who is in turn then controlling the Pokemon. Whereas if your player character is in a box, you are really just controlling the Pokemon itself, so it'll be a different feeling. But that's one possibility. The other thing obviously to mention is, what Pokemon is this? Because it doesn't really match anything we've seen before, or at least, you know, obvious to me. One possibility again is it's just a placeholder silhouette and that's that. Or it could be a new Pokemon entirely. In terms of what existing Pokemons are somewhat similar, I've picked out Blaziken just from sort of the body shape. It's got to be like a tall Pokemon with arms and legs. But obviously Blaziken doesn't really fit that because these legs seem to be a bit more sort of like bendy, whereas Blaziken is much more rigid. And of course what very much looks like a tail or some sort of appendage atop the silhouette's head obviously doesn't fit Blaziken, so I very much just picked out Blaziken because the body shape fits. And the only one I could really think about was Nuzleaf, because Nuzleaf does have a leaf atop his head, and if you were to extend that slightly, maybe that would work. So maybe it's a Nuzleaf evolution that's separate from Shiftry, and of course rather than Shiftry stays sort of short and stocky, maybe this other evolution gets much taller and thus stays very similar to how Nuzleaf looks, but slightly different. But of course I can't really tell you, it doesn't really look like anything we can see. But using your Pokemon for climbing is an interesting thing, and of course it does make sense that you'd allow it. Again, copying Breath of the Wild, basically being able to climb and go everywhere, it does make sense in that instance. So if we then check out the third screenshot, we've done running, we've done climbing, and now of course we have flying. As mentioned earlier, Breath of the Wild has the paraglider to help you get around, and there are, Pokemon that can fly, so why not use Pokemon like this? And you can see the silhouette here with some sort of, I guess, bird Pokemon holding onto, I imagine, some sort of stick or pole, and we can't really see the player character in this shot, but the assumption is they are below in some sort of basket again, being dangled beneath the bird who is then carrying this basket, which you can't see them. And again, this leads to the fact that you will very much be controlling the Pokemon itself as opposed to the player doing anything, because the player's just going to be sat in a basket not doing much at all. So in terms of what Pokemon this looks like, I think we have a close match to an existing Pokemon in this case, and that is Braviary, because if you look at the silhouette, it's got long wings, it's got a head that has some level of feathering, or some feathers around it, and of course it's got two large claws to hold on to that. So I think Braviary is almost a full match. There's no way to confirm that, of course, but past that, it could be any bird Pokemon really. That's not too different. Or again, it could just be a placeholder silhouette. We don't really know. But being able to fly, obviously, is a big thing. Whether that then makes climbing pretty useless, because why would you bother climbing when flying up is probably easier? So whether they would put any limitations on the flying, maybe it's like you can't really fly upwards, you can just fly at the same level, as an alternative to running or to riding. Maybe you can go up and down to some extent, but I guess it's maybe you'd want to prevent the player from just grabbing a flying type and then flying straight to the top of Mount Coronet, which would be a little bit too easy, I suppose. So whether there'll be any limitations placed on it is obviously remains to be seen. So those are the three interactions you can have with the Pokemon that are displayed here. But before we move on to anything else, we need to take another look at this image, because there is something else in this image that is worth mentioning, and you may have seen it already and spotted it already, and that's the fact that we have Mount Coronet in the background of this image with what looks to be a dark purpley cloud above it. Now, where have we seen a dark purple cloud above Mount Coronet in the past? That would be correct when the distortion world was opened up in Pokemon Platinum. As you can see on some official art here, we have a very similar rendering of some sort of black, purpley black cloud above Mount Coronet, which effectively allows entrance to the distortion world. So this would apply, assuming it's not just been input in there for some sort of flair, and it's an actual screenshot from the game at one point, that the distortion world will play some part in the story of this game. And that may mean that Giratina plays some level of other part in this story of these games. And if we think about how the Diamond Pearl remakes are going to go, Dialga and Palkia are obviously going to see their sort of spotlight, because they will have a game each in the remakes and will have some involvement with the story there. But it seems that Giratina may not really have too much involvement. He will likely be available in the remakes for capture somehow, but may not be directly involved in any story as he was in Platinum. So the Arceus game may feature both Giratina and Arceus as sort of the two main involvers, two main parties involved with the story here. Maybe, again, Giratina is based off of the Antichrist, really, whereas obviously Arceus is based off of some sort of deity. So whether that builds into part of the story, whereas maybe Giratina gets set loose and stuff goes from there, is one possibility. It'll be interesting to see. But the cloud above Mount Coronet here does offer hope that will definitely be part of the story. And it's interesting to note anyway, because I don't know why you would include it in the screenshot unless it was actually meant for something. So it's interesting to point out. So then if we take a look at another screenshot here, the second image we have, this is of, rather than interacting with Pokemon, this is more on the battling front. And we've got 4 sort of images spliced together here with a few different things going on. And we'll talk about those in depth one by one. As a general sort of population, I don't know, as a general start to this image in particular, obviously there's a lot of Japanese on this image here, and some of it can be translated and has been translated in ways. Obviously it's good to get some of the translation for that. So if I pull up one of the someone that's translated it, the second image is describing seamless battles. So it's just explaining that in previous games there were sort of designated battlefields where an encounter starts and you go onto the battlefield. However, this time it's just in the overworld. Another thing is also talking about how the battles don't use the traditional turn-based system, but an active time battle system instead. So this is something that's still in a little bit of contention, because some people are saying that yes, it is like this, some people are saying no, it's not. There's also rumours going around about how you as a player can attack and be damaged. There's no confirmation on that, of course, none of this is confirmed, it's all leak stuff. An active time battle would maybe suggest something like that though. The red text also says that Pokemon will attack your main character if you don't send out a Pokemon. So if you just run up to a wild Pokemon, it's going to start aggroing you, depending on the Pokemon of course, and you may then end up taking some damage. And if you take too much damage, the battle ends. Now whether battle end means, similar to the battle just ends, or whether you get knocked out and have to go back to the village, for example, who knows at this point. So that's one option there. And as I say, the turn-based versus active time battle stuff is still a bit up in the air, and of course that could be done in a few different ways. It could be sort of an active time where you can just, I guess Pokken is one comparison, where you just purely mash. It could be energy based, so where your attacks take a level of energy, and then if it's a stronger attack you might have to wait longer before you can use another move of some kind, which I think would fit the style a little bit more, again because there is no difference between the overworld and a battle itself. There are questions of how do you run away from a battle apart from physically running away, and while Pokemon, can it stop you, and that sort of thing. So an active time battle rather than turn-based would make sense, as well as in the fact that if you're in the overworld and you're sitting there waiting to use your move, it's going to look pretty weird if the wild Pokemon just continues to stand there and watch you and wait for you, whereas if they're not going to just stand there forever and eventually they're going to sort of turn around and attack you, that makes more sense. So that may sort of build more into the fact that you can't just take forever in these battles. It's an action game as well as being promoted as, so maybe that's where the action comes in. So that's one main idea behind this. But if we have a look at each image individually, first up we have this image here where we have Rhydon chilling in the middle, and we have 2 options on the menu here. You can see an A and a B with some obviously Japanese on it. The first thing to point out is I've seen maybe a few people online saying, oh, this is the player character in battle with a Rhydon. I don't believe so, because if you look at the bottom left of the screen here where we have this blue swipe and a health bar and so on, which is representing your Pokemon, you can see here, translating the name of that Pokemon out, or at least the partial part of it that is shown, this is Rhydon. So Rhydon in this case is actually your Pokemon, I do believe. So I don't think this is necessarily in a battle. I can't tell for sure because we don't have a full screenshot. This is only a partial screenshot, so it might be there's another Pokemon somewhere, maybe off screen, that's you're in battle with. It would be useful to see the top right of this screenshot, basically, to see if there's an enemy health bar. We can see that the bars have been pushed in, which maybe implies that you're in a battle, but it could also just imply that you've sent a Pokemon out, and thus that's why the bars go in, the health bar appears at the bottom left, just to say, here is your Pokemon, you've sent it out, but obviously don't know either way. In terms of the two options we have, if we look at the A button, you can see basically some sort of image rather than text, and this image looks to be sort of implying if you press A, you can jump on your Pokemon and ride your Pokemon. Because if you look at we can see a sort of few stickmen and that sort of thing. So I believe the A button in this case would allow you to start riding Rhydon, as we've sort of seen with the initial images we looked at just now, where you can ride, fly, climb with all your Pokemon. So maybe that's what that's doing, and the B button does then seem to be a much more just text, Japanese text, and B is probably sort of put your Pokemon away, because I'm assuming in this case you're not in a battle, you've just tossed Rhydon out, and then it's a case of, okay, well, what do you want to do with Rhydon? Do you want to actually, interact with him and ride him, or do you just want to put him away in his Pokeball? So I think that's what those two options there are. I don't think in this case he is in battle, but obviously I can't tell you either way. That's just my current thinking. Looking at the next screenshot here, we have an image where it's a little bit more obvious that we are in a battle this time. Firstly, because we have our Lucario facing off against Shinx, and just the top right of this image you can see there is a small slim bit of red, which is the Shinx's health bar coming down to the top of the screenshot. So we are in battle this time with the Shinx. Again, you can see those the same two options are present on the screen, with the A for ride and then B presumably for put away. So I guess even if you're in a battle, you can still walk up to your Pokemon and either jump on it or put it back in its Pokeball. In terms of what actually happens when you're in battle and you do that, I assume jumping on him and riding him is maybe one way to actually just get away from the battle. So if you're on a particularly fast Pokemon, that's going to be pretty easy to do. But if you're maybe fighting with a Pidgey's maybe not going to be able to get you out of the battle very quickly, so you have to put Pidgey away first and then run away yourself. So that's one option. Now, of course, if you just put the Pokemon away, as I say, maybe at that point that's the point at which the Pokemon then turns on you and says, well, you've not got a Pokemon, so I'm going to attack you instead. So you can put Lucario away, but then you've got to make a quick run, because otherwise the wild Pokemon's going to attack you. So that's definitely one thing to consider. We're still going to be able to do a lot of things while we're in battle, whereas obviously the current games, the battle starts, you're in the battle, that's that. You can't open up your bag, you can't run away very easily in that way. So maybe it's a bit more open in terms of what you can do. Then if we have a look, and just quickly to point out, above Shinx's head you can see there is some sort of indicator, some sort of diamond indicator with another line or arrow beneath it. I believe this is some sort of targeting system, sort of like you'd see in Zelda, where you can Z-lock onto things to make things easier for you to target. So this may just show you the Pokemon you are currently in battle with. Whether it will allow you to switch between Pokemon, I'm not entirely sure. Having a battle with multiple wild Pokemon at once, it might be possible, I suppose. Again, it would seem pretty weird for other wild Pokemon just to completely ignore you if you're beating up one of their friends. So maybe that would be another part of the challenging part of the game, where you can't just stroll up to a whole pack of Pokemon and start attacking one, because otherwise you're quickly going to get overwhelmed. So it may be something to do with that, but it at least shows the Pokemon you are currently in battle with, to avoid any confusion. So there is that to it. If we then pull up on the left side, at the bottom left, obviously again there is Lucario's health bar, we can see it with the blue swipe, but there is also another option just to the left of him there, which isn't totally clear what it is. Now there's presumably a button click you need to go on that. We can't tell what button it is, but I'm presuming there is some sort of button assigned to opening whatever that is. This may be the move menu, because again we're in battle with a Shinx here currently, but there's no select. How do you select the move? There's no option there for that. So possibly it's a case of this is what you press to get your moves up, and actually then decide to use a move, because as I say, it's not just you're in a battle, all you can do is fight. There are other things you can do as well. So maybe that's what then pulls it up. And the reason I'm thinking the move menu is because it seems like it's like a list almost in that little icon. So that would be my guess. So that's what you press to then select a move to split it up, rather than the move UI always being present. So that's my thinking. If we then look at the bottom right hand side of the screen, you can see a few different icons there, and while it's not initially obvious what they are, I think we can deduce some things. So you can see 5 icons across here, and you can see in the middle one it's a grayed out, and then either side there are some more filled in ones. And I think this is your party. So you can see the middle one, the greyed out one, is Lucario. On the right hand side you have Rhydon, which makes sense because assuming these screenshots were all sort of taken during the same play session, we have a Rhydon in another screenshot. And then I think the third sort of icon there is actually a Jumpluff, because you can see a blue body and then obviously a white, sort of white yellowy circle above it. So it's not obvious at the arms, but they may also be in there as well. The screenshot is obviously fairly blurry. So I think that's Lucario, Rhydon and Jumpluff there. So we can add Jumpluff to the list of sort of Pokemon that are confirmed to be in the decks for these games if you want to, as well as Hoppip and Skipmew, of course. On the left hand side, it's not as obvious what these Pokemon are. I guess I would maybe say Turtwig and Chimchar, since we are in the Sinnoh region, but it's really not obvious because you can't quite tell. Maybe there are these little circles above them, so whether those are just separate from the Pokemon itself and the icon itself, and maybe they're just something else, or they could be part of the Pokemon, and obviously maybe we're just barking up the wrong tree, and it might be like Shuckle or something. And the same really goes for the Jumpluff on the right hand side there. It might be that the little circle above isn't actually Jumpluff's sort of ball. It's just a little dot, and the Pokemon itself is completely different. So we can't quite tell, but this is definitely your party here, with presumably allowing you to switch between your Pokemon. So we'll come back to this in a little bit, but it's definitely your party there. If we then pull up this other screenshot, this is a much more brief one, but you can see here this same sort of battle instance where you have Lucario versus Shinx, and you can see Shinx is sparking off some electricity, presumably because he is an electric type, so this is just him using a move. There's not much else going on here, but you can see that again the player character has freedom to walk around these scenes as much as they want, and of course to run away if they want as well. So just a quick one there worth pointing out. And then the last one of this set is actually, it's quite interesting and it's quite contentious online about exactly what is being shown here. So you can see the player character is looking at what seems to be a huge sort of ball of light, or mess of light, and the main thing to point out, of course, is the bar across the top. Now a lot of people are in the opinion that this is actually some sort of new Pokemon, and if you pull up, some people have taken to sort of sketching out what they think is the outline of this Pokemon. So maybe this Pokemon is in the middle of an attack, or has just been attacked and thus is taking damage and flashing in a way, or maybe this is how it is. It's some sort of enemy that's a big glow of energy or something. So you can see some people have figured, oh yes, this is some sort of weapon at the top here, and this one here, and you can see the face has been sketched out there as well. I'm not entirely sure whether this would be a new Pokemon as well. One thing I do want to sort of bring up and mention is that it may just be a Pokemon that we do know taking some damage, because as we saw in the trailer, when Lucario is attacking Staraptor, you do get these big effects. So while this one does look more defined in a way, it could also sort of be a trick of the screenshot. But then again, you think if it's showing something very abstract like that they wouldn't include the screenshot. So the argument there is made that actually this is probably intended by them to be done in a certain way. Either way, this definitely is some sort of special battle, evidenced by the bar across the top of the screen. So rather than just having a standard health bar, this seems to be some sort of boss battle. And I believe, looking at the translation, the other thing this person mentions is that actually the yellow thing has text next to it called King Battle. So this could also be King Boss, so it could be some sort of boss battle. So maybe this links into sort of the level of story we have here, or maybe some sort of gimmick or special battle for this game. And then maybe that there are particularly strong Pokemon out there that have something around them. Maybe there is some special energy on Sinnoh that they're absorbing and becoming stronger. And this could be either be certain Pokemon, or it could be any Pokemon, for example. But this leads into the fact that, okay, it's a boss battle, and maybe that's why there's a separate health bar, and it's going to be a stronger battle than normal. So this is definitely something to bear in mind and to take into account when we think about what else they might be to do in these games. Again, they haven't revealed any of this, of course, so it's all speculation at this point, and it could have been scrapped stuff as well. But it seems like there will be some sort of boss encounters, so strong battles, maybe similar to the totem battles from Alola, where the Pokemon has extra stats and stuff like that. But currently, obviously, we just don't really know. It's sort of speculation at the moment. The last thing to pull up is the bottom right of the screenshot. We have a few icons around. You can see a couple of question mark icons, which are quite interesting. So I'm not sure why they're question marks here. Maybe it's because we're in the boss battle and some things are disabled from use. Maybe it's some sort of cutscene. It's one possibility. You know, maybe disabling you from going into the save menu in this sort of case. So that's one possibility there. Or they might be stuff that hasn't been unlocked yet is another option. And then on the right hand side, this is definitely looking like the plus menu. Like a little plus on that little button there, but the icon next to it seems to be a deer, half a deer head almost, which is quite interesting because we saw a deer earlier. So I don't know why this would be on the plus menu for a start. So, why is it like that? Is there anything special about this deer? Why is it on a particular button? Of course, we don't know at the moment, so it's another thing to bear in mind, I suppose. We just don't know. I've got no idea either. So that's the last screenshot, presumably around some sort of boss battle, so maybe giving us a bit more information about other special things around this game. So now I'm going to pull up a little bit of a combination of a few of these images, because there are some shared features that I want to look at, mainly around the UI and how this will be structured. So we've seen them on a few different screenshots, but it's worth now having a look at them all together. So the first three screenshots we have sort of, with the green backgrounds, we have on the bottom right hand side there seems to be this consistent, you've got a Pokeball here, and then there are some other things going on around it there. There's also the side on the left hand side of the screen where there are a couple of options in some cases, both at the very bottom left of the screens and then also a few above there. So what these could be, for a start, at the bottom right of the screen, I am imagining the A button will be used for the central thing. So you can see here in these three cases it's a Pokeball. Now I imagine this is to access your party or to maybe toss out your Pokemon that's in the first place of your party. So you can also see then just at the bottom left and the bottom right of that there are two other buttons, and these are going to be the L and the R buttons that shift you from the left and the right. So it's like a wheel scrolling around, and the yellow icon to the left of the Pokeball is presumably going to be the bag, because we see a yellow bag on the player characters. And then of course you're going to have other things on this wheel, maybe the Pokédex, the save menu, settings. You assume it's going to be something like that, either with access by the A button or maybe the X button would be another option to open up as a menu. So this is allowing you to to quickly scroll around. While you're running around, you'll be able to scroll through and find what you need without coming to a direct halt. So that's one thing to note. Thinking about what's at the bottom left of the screens, maybe these would be sort of with the X and the Y buttons. The B button, of course, is going to be for cancelling stuff, so generally isn't used to open things. But maybe these would be the X and the Y buttons. In terms of what they actually are, complete mystery. The two icons are very abstract. The bottom one looks like it could be some sort of Pokédex or journal. Of course, we assume the Pokédex isn't going to be digital in this case, so maybe it will be a literal notebook that we have to write in. So this is what maybe at the bottom left there, because it seems like a rectangular type shape. In terms of the other one, that is complete mystery. It doesn't look like anything too obvious to us. And at the moment it would just be complete conjecture to say, well, maybe it is X, Y, Z, we just don't know. The other two things above that are slightly different because they don't seem to be direct icons. They seem to be something else. I can't translate them, of course. So maybe they're accessed via the directional buttons, and maybe they are stuff like maybe tips and tricks, something like that, maybe hints, or maybe they're just not sort of button related at all, and maybe they're like a list of side missions. I can't tell you at that point. They are interesting in that way. These screenshots also have, going back to the right hand side, some sort of yellow golden icon, and we'll look at that more in a second. But the thing we can then revisit is the party that we saw in that battle earlier, where we had at the bottom right of the screen we had Lucario, Rhydon, presumably Jumpluff, and then maybe the starters. And you can see that's also structured in the same sort of wheel type deal, with left and right the L and R buttons scrolling through it. So when you're in a battle, either the menu switches to just your party, or maybe this is already when you were in the party in this point of the game, in the screenshot, and you're just going back into the party to then left and right and then say, okay, swap Pokemon here. So that's one possibility there. This menu is going to be dynamic in a way. You're not going to have to sort of open up another screen to then switch your party out, which wouldn't make sense in sort of a live game. And then of course we have the screenshot from the boss battle, and you can see here more clearly that this button is probably going to be the X button, because you can see an X there. So rather than A being used to open these things, X will be used to open these menus or sub-menus. So that makes more sense, since the X button has been used for menus in the past, and the A button is used for general interaction with things in the world. Of course you wouldn't want to suddenly press A to open a menu and not be able to do what you want to do in the world. So that makes sense. But again, we have these weird icons with the question marks. You can see the bag across the left hand side there. So maybe in that boss battle cutscene you can't access your party and you can't access whatever the other thing was, maybe your Pokedex, because it's the middle of a boss battle almost, or something like that. Why you'd be able to access the bag, don't ask me, it's a different thing entirely, but that's what it seems like there at least. If we then revisit those golden icons I mentioned just now, they seem to be linked to the Pokemon you're riding. So you can see here in the first screenshot we have with the deer, it seems to be some sort of deer icon. When we're climbing up, you can see there's some sort of cat-like icon. And then the flying one is a bit more abstract. It doesn't seem to be like a bird like you think it would be. It seems to be a little more blocky than that. So maybe it's the basket you're sitting in as opposed to the bird. And of course this would, I guess, make sense in a way. I'm assuming these are generic icons and not necessarily linked to the particular Pokemon you are riding or flying with, and they are just options to open some sort of menu for it, or maybe to cancel it, or maybe just to show you are currently doing it. Is one possibility there. But it is interesting that they are there. As I said, I don't think they're linked to the particular Pokemon, because I don't see how the second one is a cat that you're climbing with. It just doesn't make sense. So I think they're going to be generic, and a cat makes sense because cats can climb, I guess, question mark, who knows. And the basket, of course, I guess makes some sense because the basket is what you're using as opposed to the bird. And the bird is obviously simply carrying the basket, so that's another thing to bear in mind. But it's interesting that they have another entry on the screen when you're doing it. So as I say, it could just be an indicator that you are doing it, or it could maybe be another button you can press to either cancel doing it, or to enhance other menus, maybe some sort of boost, who knows. It's just something to highlight and bear in mind. So that's when we come to the end of these images. So there's definitely a lot there to unpack. I guess the most important thing to remember and bear in mind is these haven't been revealed or released. So I don't know why they weren't. So they could have just said, okay, well, we're just going to tease Arceus at the moment. We'll reveal more details down the line once Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are sort of closer to going out the door, because of course they have to juggle a few different types of promotion. And of course they would have wanted both things to make some sort of equal impact from the presents. They wouldn't want to reveal a load of information about Arceus so that the only thing people are talking about is Arceus, and then the Diamond Pearl remakes completely flop. They sort of have to balance out one for one. So I'm sure we will get individual trailers and individual highlights for both the games going forward, and we'll get more information then. As I say, I think these images were probably just an internal sort of information distribution or presentation that of course includes this deeper information on the game, which of course they'll have to be discussing internally, but may not reveal to the public until a later date. So there is a lot there in terms of riding, flying, climbing with your Pokemon, sort of stuff that you assume would have needed to be there anyway. But there is a lot of stuff there also around the battling, the particular boss battle and how that's going to work, and of course the different options on the menu and how that's actually going to work, because obviously with the current Pokemon games being very slow, slow in a way that you can just stop in the overworld and you're not really going to come to any harm. Sword and Shield, I suppose, is the riskiest one of those where a Pokemon can run into you, but even if they do, you enter into a battle and that's where it stays until you do something. Whereas these games are going to be live on the overworld. If you stand still, you may end up with a Pokemon running into you and then eventually beating you down and knocking you out. So it makes sense that these menus are a lot more dynamic and a lot more accessible as you go. So rather than opening up separate screens, everything is there. You select party and you can scroll through your party and switch Pokemon in and out without leaving the overworld. So it makes sense that that's how things are structured. So there is a lot there, and it would be good to hear some more about this soon, but we may not hear about it in short time. So that's what we got from the leaks so far, and of course if we get anything else in the future we'll cover that. But of course do let me know, guys, in the comment section what you think about this information. How does that sort of shape your perception of the game in terms of how it's going to play and what's going to be available for us to do. And of course if there's anything else particularly you want me to focus on, do shout out in the comments and I can consider that and follow that through to make a video covering it, so I'd be happy to. Either way, I think this is going to be it for me for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video covering these leaks, and hopefully it's given you a lot to think about. But for now, this is going to be it for me for today. I'll be seeing you guys next time. Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye, my friends.